And then we also have the third speakers is Muhammad Fuadi, S.Pi, M.Si.
Yeah, good afternoon, Budini.
Yeah,
good afternoon. Thank you.
Yes, we already have our three distinguished speakers. So let me read the agenda today. We will have a talk from our three keynote speakers that will be from 2 to 3:30 p.m. Indonesian time. And then we will have a Q&A session from 3:30 until 4 p.m. And then after we will have break from 4 to 4:15. And then after break, we will have a virtual field excursion and also group discussion from 4:15 until 5 o'clock. So yes, next please. Yes, today I will be your moderator for our talk today. I'm Dini Wahyu Kartikasari from Fisheries Department, Universitas Gadjah Mada. Next, please. Yes, so our first keynote speaker is Dr. Bambang Retno Aji. Dr. Bambang Retno Aji currently is Associate Professor at the Laboratory of Animal Structure and Development from Faculty of Biology, University Gadjah Mada, Universitas Gadjah Mada. So Dr. Bambang took Bachelor in Universitas Gadjah Mada and then took M.Si in a University of the Philippines at Los Baños, Philippines, and then took PhD in the Developmental Biology Sciences from Nara Institute of Science and Technology, Japan. Dr. Bambang Retno Aji research interest is aquatic culture and fish as animal model, especially on tropical fish such as rasbora and also zebrafish. He also active on developing zebrafish facility at Universitas Gadjah Mada in collaboration with Leiden University, the Netherlands, which he currently acts as a person in charge on the said facility. So Dr. Bambang Retno Aji will talk about tropical fish domestication. Dr. Bambang, are you ready for the talk?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yes. So first session is your turn. Time and yes.
Thank you very much. So please, good afternoon, everybody. It's an honor for me to have this session, and I'd like to ask permission to share my PowerPoint. So please allow me to share my PowerPoint.
Yes, please.
Okay. Is it already visible?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, Professor Murwantoko, thank you very much, Dr. Dini also, and all of the participants. Thank you very much for the opportunity for me to share what so far we work on, which is about the domestication of Indonesian native fish. So it is considered as a tropical fish. This is once again an honor for me to have this opportunity to share with you, since I hope there will be so many improvement or maybe question and thing which could improve our work currently or recently. So let me start to introduce about the case of Indonesia regarding to the tropical fish population. So Indonesia itself has a total of around 440 endemic species, which is specific for freshwater fish species. It is considered very high and maybe around 4th position after Brazil, China, and United States. Yeah. And also, yeah, there is more than 140 endemic of marine species according to Indonesian authority, which recorded on the 2015. So this considered very high in population or in the species of fish, since 440 is very high number. Unfortunately, out of 440, only around five species which already well cultivate or become the popular cultivation fish in Indonesia. So very small number which already been domesticated and mass cultivated. This is a big challenge for us, since out of 440 of freshwater species and only around 5 already domesticated. The question is, out of this 440, why the cultivation or fish cultivated number is still very low? Then there is some possibility to answer this question. First one, the availability of fish is in the nature considered still available. Then people will rely the fish source from the nature, or they catch directly from the nature. However, actually, this practice by catching from the nature has so many problem. First, for example, the supply is uncertain. So if we only rely on the natural capture, then it will be usually the product will be less stable. The variety of the size of the fish very great, because sometimes we get very small, and also sometimes we could have the bigger size and so on. And this is really depend on the situation of the nature. And the second problem is that the quantity and the quality of supply really depend on the season, for example. And this will cause also the fish population will decrease due to the mass fishing. Then from this problem, usually there should be some way out or solution. And one of the solution is the domestication. But again, unfortunately, fish domestication need the availability of the technology for the fish cultivation itself. And yet, very rare, the domestication and cultivation technology available to be accessed from for the fisheries. The fishermen usually they don't have any chance to freely access the technology for the cultivation or the domestication by themselves. This is the big problem. And also, moreover, the current data shows, we conduct routine evaluation on the fish population in the river. Then we found out that there is a trend of the population decline of the native fish, usually in our area in Yogyakarta. And also we found that there is some increased population in the invasive fish in the river bodies. That means there is two serious threats. First one, the trend of the population decline. And the second one, there is a trend on the increase the population of invasive fish species. Then also we learned that from the farmer, they have the preference for the which species will be choose to be cultivated by them. Mostly fish farmer will choose first inexpensive fish to grow. And the second one, the fish should grow quickly. And of course, the third is they have high sales price. And usually also the fish should resistant to diseases and parasites. That's criteria sometimes become a handicap for the farmer to adopt new kind or new species of fish to be massively cultivated. This is also another problem or handicap. Usually, farmer will only choose some fish species such as tilapia or maybe other species which already very common. Introduction of the new species very difficult unless it has a very high value or there's a very expensive in the market. However, we already understand that it is this domestication is very important step. Why? Because actually the native fish has very high potential to be developed or high value their existence in the nature. I would like to show several examples for the potential of native fish. First one on the ecology or ecosystem perspective. Native fish has a very important role in the ecosystem. Since they are the co-evolution occurs a long time, then they have the very specific role in the ecosystem. And the second one, usually native fish plays an important role in the maintenance of the habitat balance. And surely they have already well adapted that they have ability or resistant to diseases. And in the economic perspective, usually native fish has very potential because they have very high economic values. We already conduct in the survey in the Java, for example, one of the fish, which we call rasbora or water fish, they are available in every restaurant and the price is very high. Yeah. This is the example which we will discuss later on. And then usually native fish has the very promising as the culinary product. And then usually native fish has very high demand that usually cannot be fulfilled by the providers. And the thing which we already revealed from our field trip or field research is that there is no intensive cultivation of the local fish. And that's the potential. Third potential is that for the food security. So usually based on our result, our native fish contain high protein level, and then also very small fat, contain very high vitamin and mineral, then also could be processed into various products. They have the delicious taste, and usually very simple processing method could be conducted to process the fish for consumption. Yeah. But usually also we now have several problems for the local fish population since, yeah, this is the example of how usually now the water body or the river already constructed for example, agricultural. So in this view, we could observe that there is some big problem for the water body here. So there is no facilities. Yeah. So there is a problem for the fish to conduct migration. Yeah. So the fish usually has the ability to migrate, but this building prevent for the migration. Usually, it should be some what we call fish ladder to facilitate the fish movement. What is the implication of this water body building? So this prevent the fish from the natural reproduction. Since then, it will cause the depletion of the fish population. then so far, yeah, then it will cause the supply will be reduced drastically, and then extinction could be occurs. Therefore, there should be some solution for this problem, since here is the data of fish consumption in Indonesia starting from year 2009 and also to the year 2020. This data showed that the amount of fish would be consumed per person per year is increased drastically, more than 50%. That means the availability of the fish should be very high. But contrastly, as I exposed to you in the previous slide, there is a tendency that fish population, especially native fish, which already available in the nature, will decline very fast since there is no cultivation effort. On the other hand, the exploitation will be increased to fulfill the demand for the fish consumption, which always increase, and to be targeted always increased by the government. Yeah, so there is a threat for the fisheries. First one, intensive overfishing will occur, and harvest beyond the maximal sustainability yield. That's mean in the very near future, the availability of the fish in the nature will vastly decline, and we will lose our fish due to the extinction caused by the over harvesting or overfishing. And the other one also, that there is always, as I said, there is exotic or invasive species which then replace the fish in their nature habitat. So, lesson learned. What should we do? Yeah, we try, in our case, we try to conduct or to proceed for the domestication of the Indonesian native fish, rasbora, or usually we call it water pari. Here I try to expose you several steps which we already conducted in order for the domestication and mass cultivation of the fish I exposed to you. In detail, yeah, there is flow of work. First one, the collection, surely, and domestication, and the development, and also the restocking. Here is the detail. So, first step, we try to develop the technique or the technology for the fish mass production. Why the first step should be the development of technique or technology? Because as I exposed before, or as I mentioned before, that the fish or the technology for fish cultivation doesn't exist or didn't exist. Why? Because people or the farmer always has the perspective that the fish already exists in the nature. Since they exist in the nature, they think that there is no urgency to cultivate in the pond. Why should we cultivate the fish since we could directly harvest from the nature? And even some other fishermen, they consider that local fish as the pests because they disturb the cultivated fish in the pond. So our first priority is developing the technique or technology for the mass cultivation. Yeah, we developed this for 8 years, and now we could establish the technology. This is one of the part of the technology. So since it is the wild fish, which the reproduction cycles depend on the nature, maybe seasoning, season, yeah, wet season or dry season. and usually only occurs once a year, then if we follow the nature, will be very difficult to catch up with the need of the fish availability in the cultivation. Then the second step which we conducted is developing the technique and technology for the production of the prey, the larvae. So we try to invent artificial spawning tool and method. This is the two kind of spawning tool which we already invented and patented. First one, indoor, and the second one, the outdoor. Why we try to develop two kind, indoor and outdoor? Because in Indonesia, especially in Yogyakarta, the farmer, they already only have very small space for the pond, and usually it is they lend or they rent the pond. Then saving the space for the cultivation in order to produce larvae is very important. And why we should develop the indoor one? Because we think that we should continuously produce the prey, the larvae, which could be always adopted by the farmer, and so that the farmer will not depend on the season cycles. So our goal is we could produce the larvae every time it's needed, with even in the wet season or in the dry season. Then this is the artificial equipment or tool which we develop. So this is the base. We cultivate or we keep our brood here, and then this is the spawning area, and this is the filter. It's only need around 1 times 2 meters square of the space for the production of the egg. And then why we develop the outdoor? Because in our case, our farmer, usually they have a group of farmer consists of more than 10 fish farmer. Then this outdoor one could be shared in use. So D1, for example, in the group A, and then transfer to the group B, and so on. Then it could shave for the cultivation itself, because they share the cultivation tool. Yeah. So this belong to the group, not only a person. This is how we try to develop the cultivation tools for the farmer. Then this is this is the brood which already ready for the cultivation to produce egg. Yeah, this is on the indoor. Yeah, and this is the adult fish. And then after we develop this artificial tool, then we try to establish the protocol for the egg which we already succeeded to produce. Yeah. So we develop the protocol first, for example, for the selection quality. Only good egg should be proceed for the hatching and also for the larva rearing. Then we established several guidance so that our farmer could follow which egg or what kind of egg quality they produce during the cultivation. Yeah. So we also develop for the outdoor, which we call it this one. The outdoor is movable. Yeah, movable for the cultivation spawning technology. This is the illustration of the part of the indoor one. So we could discuss further about this. And also several fish farmer has very small pond, or even they have very small space. Then we encourage them by this kind of pond design. Why we design this? Because so many community has the very high interest in the cultivating fish, but they don't have the pond. Then we try to provide this technology also. The detail we could discuss later on. And then, yeah, this is our next strategy is how we could succeed it in the field or mass cultivation. And also how we will we develop the harvest technology. So, yeah, I would like to show you first how we succeed. So this is our harvest fish. Yeah, so yeah, we developed the technology from the first for the cultivation and also production egg, and another thing which we developed is how we could conduct the rematuration for the brood or for the adult fish. What is the rematuration? Rematuration is how we could produce egg after another production of the egg for the same fish or individual fish. Yeah, rematuration cycle we tried to design for the shortest time. Then we found out that every 2 weeks from the same fish we could produce new batch of egg. So then we established that as the guidance that every 3 weeks the farmer could conduct the spawning for the same species or the same individual of the fish. And then here we try to monitor the quality of the egg, and the quality is very good. So every 3 weeks they could produce the egg from the same individual fish. How many fish? Usually we product the egg from one fish around 1,000 egg. Yeah. So every week, every 3 weeks we could produce 1,000 egg from the same individual. Then after we establish the technology, we should have the partner. Then we the partnership is very important. So the technology we develop could be adopted. If there is no farmer adopt the cultivation technology, then it will be very useless. Yeah. Then we try to recruit several partner from farmer. Then they conduct the mass cultivation in the field. It is very the process is sometimes according to our experience, it's take more than 2 years for one partner to be established. This is some time, need much energy and also financial support. That's why it is important to have the partner, and also for the financial support such as the CSR or so on. Yeah. And then we also ask our partner to take care their river, for example, restocking by their own. Yeah. The next step, we try to develop the fish product which has good market prospect, and also the production cost very low. Yeah, in order to give the advantage or financial advantage for the partner which produce the fish. So this is some example. We have the sambal fish, yeah, for example, and kripe, also abon, and so on. Yeah. So fish product, or how we could adopt the product the partner produce is very important. Otherwise, they will shift again to other kind of fish. Yeah, yeah. We develop the process, and we have the partner to for this process. This is the example of our product. And then also there is very important to have the fish feed for the fish development. Why? Because usually if we only depend on the commercial fish feed, it is very expensive, so that we need to have the alternative. We develop several alternatives for the fish feed. Yeah. And then it should be adopted by our partner in order to supply for the mass cultivation in the field. And aside from that, we also try to have the partnership from the government. One of the program is for the restocking, so that the population in the nature will be maintained, and also there will be an education for the people about the importance of the fish conservation or native fish conservation. And then community service. It is also very important step for us, since the information which we develop about the technology, about the cultivation, mass cultivation, and also the fish product should be well delivered to the community. Then we establish the community service program, which we conduct routinely every year. I think this all which I could present you. Hopefully the time is still, I don't yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Bambang. This is a very interesting topic to talk about domestication of Strasbourg, or we called wader pari in Indonesia. So thank you so much. I believe there is many a discussion from the floor, but please hold on, and we will proceed for the next presenter from Dr. Krishna Salin from ASEAN Institute of Technology, Thailand. Okay, let me read the Dr. Krishna Salin's. Dr. Krishna Salin is Associate Professor and Program Chair, Aquaculture and Aquatic Resources Management, School of Environment Resources and Development, ASEAN Institute of Technology. A professional position 2021 to date, Honorary Director, Network for the Development of Agriculture Cooperative in Asia and the Pacific, Bangkok, Thailand. And his research interest is a cleaner aquaculture system, ecosystem-based aquaculture, applied genetic for improved aquatic stock, breeding and hatchery management, and also climate change adaptation of fisheries and aquaculture. So please welcome Dr. Krishna Salin. Time is yours.
Hi, thank you very much
yes.
for your kind introduction, and also for the invitation, more importantly. Yeah, let me try to open my screen. Give me a second.
Yes, please take your time.
I think I need access for sharing.
Yes.
The host is disabled, has disabled the participant sharing.
Oh.
Yeah, I need permission.
Okay. IT, tolong dibukakan akses untuk buka supaya beliau bisa share screen, Mas Hafiz. IT, could you please open for
yeah,
Dr.
Yeah, that's
yes.
done. Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome.
What I will do today is to give you an overview of the sustainable aquaculture practices with special emphasis on the finfish. That is the topic I was asked to present. And I know this, the majority of the participants are the students from University of Gadjah, Mada. So I have included a few more slides, but I will be a bit fast because I think I have to finish in 40 minutes. So before I go to the core of my presentation, I will provide a brief overview of AIT, where I work with. AIT started in 1959, and then it transformed greatly to what you see now, the modern day AIT. It's a wonderful campus, and I would always welcome the students from Indonesia to join our master's and PhD programs. So AIT is not a traditional Thai university because we are an international postgraduate institute. We don't have any undergraduate programs for that matter. And our administration is managed by an intergovernmental panel containing 14 governments in the Asian region. So we have 100 faculty, more than 100 faculty from more than 20 countries, nearly 2,000 students from that many number of countries. I think nearly 80 countries. So it's a truly international program, and I would always welcome you. And our aquaculture program was started in the 1980s, and we really work with international governments and academia, research institutes, and playing a greater role in the Asia's aquaculture sector. So coming back to business, we all know that aquaculture is a major industry, and it's one of the fastest growing food production sector. And it's also one of the most diverse farming system compared to the livestock and terrestrial crops. So the species diversity, the diversity in farming methods and the environments. So to get the maximum benefit from food production from aquaculture, we target more than 100 million tons by 2025. That is too close, and we are very fast leading or coming to that point. So this is to keep pace with the booming global population. You're all well aware of it. Comparing the production systems, other meat production systems like beef, swine, poultry, mutton, you can see that fish is a major player. You can see how fast it is growing over the past several decades. So this is a wonderful development, and we are committed to maintain this growth. Coming to the diversity, when you talk about the diversity, if you compare aquaculture with capture fisheries, you can see that diversity is so low. In capture fisheries, you deal with more than 2,000 species captured from the sea. But aquaculture, you see, you have more than 600 species. And we still have grown so fast from 2006 to 2020 by nearly 30% in the number of species that we farm. But there is a problem still with this growth, because if you analyze in detail the diversity, you can see that finfish is the most dominant component compared to all other groups. You have like nearly 63% of the production. 63, more than 60% of the the finfish, the species are formed by finfishes. But analyzing further, you see that a very few species dominate global aquaculture. So this is again a bit of pity. You see that just 27 species or groups contribute to 90% of finfish aquaculture. You see the grass carp, silver carp, common carp, tilapia, big-head carp, caraceus, cutla, just a few species. So this has to change if we really need to make aquaculture more sustainable. So what we can do to increase this diversification sustainably? We really need to increase the number of species. We really need to increase the systems and practices, and also expand farming to more diverse environments. So, of course, we need better governance, and in Asia, this is more important. So let us come to the sustainable intensification with special reference to finfish aquaculture, because we really need to intensify aquaculture if we need to produce more food. So see the early growth stage of aquaculture. You have wild juveniles, you depend on natural feeds, depend on the natural water exchange by tidal effect. And at that time, we didn't have any awareness about the environmental regulations or even the environmental impact of aquaculture. But things change as we move on to intensify the system. You know, intensification happened over the past 5 decades in the history of aquaculture. You know, particularly in the animals that we farm, the species that we farm, the seed production, stocking densities, management practices, all these have intensified. And the feeds have become quite, improved, highly nutritious feed, specific nutrition, precise nutrition, feeding practices, and even autonomous feeding systems. Technologies have improved a lot. And the water quality management, introduction of recirculation systems, aeration, probiotics, precision monitoring of water quality, all have greatly improved the production. And coming to genetics and health, selective breeding techniques, marker-assisted selection, better disease diagnosis and surveillance techniques, introduction of vaccines, all these have, improved the production from aquaculture and also consumption. So looking at the innovations in Asia, these innovations are mainly focused on efficient resource management and control of the environment, because we have developed innovative practices that can conserve the resources, particularly water, energy, and all those, limited resources. Then we have improvement in nutrition and genetics that I mentioned before. The disease management, development of immunostimulants, alternative to antimicrobials. Then to improve consumption, we have improved or innovated processing and marketing techniques, certification. We have heard of traceability, good aquaculture practice, and all those sustainable, protocols. Then we also need policy and governance improvement in regulations that will really, improve or make aquaculture more sustainable. Then the use of technology that I will talk about in a while. So regarding innovations, I can cite 2 simple technologies, simple innovations that it was, AIT, spearheaded in the sector in Asia. The mass production of all-male tilapia fry, the cost-effective technique was developed, and it was developed during the 1980s by a research project by Professor David Little, who is in Sterling now. And CP Group has taken this technology and then innovated to so many different ways, and the rest is history again, because the poor man's fish has become a multi-billion-dollar industry. Similar is the case with Pangasius. The broodstock development was part of a PhD project by a student, Philip Kakor, who was with the support of EU funding. And after the broodstock development, you can see how much of Vietnamese Pangasius production has gone up. And many of our alumni, IIT's alumni, are engaged in high quality tilapia production in Thailand, genetically improved. The Manit farms, the M.Si farms, all are excellent examples of innovating this technology further. And we will look at more on the intensive aquaculture, because we know that intensive aquaculture has a lot of issues, especially in the use of resources. It's a major factor in production. The feed, it takes 60 to 70% of the production cost, especially the protein, mostly the fish meal, that is so expensive and is also an unsustainable resource because it comes from the sea, from the capture fisheries. We catch something from the sea and give it as a feed on land. This is so unsustainable. And the efficiency of protein utilization is also very low in the conventional production systems. So how to improve it? Plus, you have the problem of effluents, providing a lot of nutrients to the environment from intensive farming practices. So all these poses several environmental and economic challenges. So how to overcome this? We can see intensive aquaculture consumes a lot of inputs and at the same time, a lot of outputs to the environment. It causes eutrophication and so many other adverse impacts on the environment. So how to tackle this problem? You know, for aquaculture to be sustainable, we really need to make the use of resources more efficient, particularly in utilizing our open water resources, because our open waters like sea, open sea, inland areas, or lakes, all these are, you know, one of the best resources to increase production because a lot of resources are available. But how to utilize them in a judicious manner or in a more, more rational manner is the big question. So there are several practices like the capture-based fisheries or aquaculture in the reservoirs, sustainable cage farming practices, and also IMTA systems. And moving to the land, we have more land-based farming intensification strategies, the recirculating aquaculture systems, the bioflow or aquamimicry, the aquaponics, the in-pond raceway systems or IPRS, which is more or less newer. And also the certification to enhance the quality of food or maintaining traceability of the product in the value chain. All these are efficient strategies to make aquaculture more sustainable. And finally, we really need to embrace digital technologies, which are new age technologies like the use of Internet of Things, the blockchain. All these are excellent initiatives or innovations that change the way we do aquaculture. I'll give you some of the examples, for the efficient use of open waters. You see this example from China, where the freshwater fish, the freshwater carps are farmed in the reservoirs. You see how much production that has come when you harvest. So you just provide the seed into the open reservoirs, and without much feeding even, you get more production. No aerators, no feeding, and you get up to 1 ton per hectare production, which is an excellent outcome. And in the case of cage culture in our rivers or lakes, this is a photo from the Victoria Lake in Kenya. You see modern cages are set there and growing tilapia particularly, and they get outstanding production. Although having more cages in the rivers without much thought is again a problem. So this really need to be regulated. And you have examples from Vietnam. The river cages is an excellent example of how good and how bad the cage farming can become. You see the intensity of tilapia in these cages, so thick. So much of fish are put, and this has also got a big environmental cost, so that people have realized and the production rates have come down. Again, an excellent example, as I said about Vietnam. This is a picture from the Toba Lake in Indonesia. You see what is the density of tilapia cages in this lake. So many cages in a small area. The lake had its own environmental issues, and this really need to be well regulated. And we have example of polyculture in big ponds, for example, from India. The Indian major carps, Katla, Rohu, also combined with the Chinese carps like grass carp or silver carp. And this provides an excellent income for farmers because carps are very expensive in some provinces of India, and farmers get a lot of profit without much cost of production. Another example from Vietnam, the freshwater eel farming. You see, they are modified environmentally, the modified breeding systems in the paddy fields. So this is again a good system without much production cost, and this depends on the local demand for specific fish. There are also integration of aquaculture with other crops. This example, you can see the rice, fish and prawn fields. You can also put the freshwater carps in this system. In Bangladesh, we have peripheral trenches or even simultaneous crops like you see in China. You see the simultaneous rice, fish culture. This system is prevalent in China, India, Vietnam, and you can also include invertebrates like the fish, the prawn, the crayfish, all these in the same system. And another integration of rice, fish, and prawn, freshwater prawn from India, from the province of Kerala. You see the fish are stocked in the nursery here, and here you can see the rice. Once the rice is harvested, you cut open this embankment, and the whole paddy field becomes a big fish pond. This is an excellent example of integration or more sustainably. Coming to the marine waters, you still have the integrated multi-trophic aquaculture systems, shortly IMTA or IMTA, some people call it, which is a promising system for future utilization of open water bodies, particularly the inshore and offshore ocean resources. You have the fish cages here. The fishes are fed highly intensively, and it produces a lot of waste. The organic particles, particulate organic matter, all these are utilized by extractive species.
I didn't catch that.
Particularly the extractive species, particularly the even the sea cucumbers or the worms, polychaete worms are possible, and the nutrients are absorbed by different species of seaweeds and also filter feeding mollusks like oysters, mussels, abalones, etc. So this is an integration of different levels of trophic niches in the water, and this is different. IMTA is different, slightly different from the so-called polyculture. Polyculture is more or less an integration of different trophic levels using fed species, but IMTA look a bit more deeper into the nutrient levels of different species, particularly the fed and extractive species that can utilize the waste, the dissolved waste or particulate waste, and all these are grown together in the same system. And polyculture is kind of a less intensive production model, whereas the IMTA is a highly intensive production model suitable for open water sources. So we have examples of IMTA systems tested in China. The Sangho Bay in China, you see a huge offshore cages associated with seaweed farming areas and the biofiltering shellfish, scallops, abalones, and the seaweed kelps. You see the extent of area that is produced sustainably, different food materials in an environmentally friendly manner. So from the open sources, we'll move more close to the land-based intensive farming. So how the finfish can be more intensively farmed in more compact farming areas. See, you have heard of open and closed aquaculture systems. What do you mean by an open system and what do you mean by a closed system? Open system is kind of a continuously flow-through system. As an example, you have continuous removal of nutrients or pollutants, and typically you need at least 30% of water exchange daily in a pond, or up to 100% or more than 100% in more intensive raceways. So typically, if you put 30%, you need at least 3,000 tons of water per hectare to be exchanged, or that much of water is thrown to the environment. So that means that much of pollutants are thrown to the environment. So this system is not really a sustainable or eco-friendly system. So then what about closed system? Closed system, again, facilitates continuous removal of pollutants, but water exchange is reduced to less than 10% a day. Example, you have the recirculating aquaculture systems or RAS, and the biofloc systems. The disadvantage is that they really need so many mechanical or chemical or biological filtration systems, and that generates, that attracts more capital cost, energy, and also labor cost. So there are advantages and disadvantages. So example of such systems, you see this freshwater pond aquaculture system in China, huge areas, extensive areas. They are highly intensive systems, particularly for crucian carp, bighead carp, yellow catfish, and they also need aerators or air, mixing units, and also intensive feeding to get productions as high as 7 tons per hectare. And this example is from Thailand, where you grow sea bass in coastal ponds. You can see the ponds and also feeding areas for sea bass. And sea bass recirculation systems are also being developed, which are low cost. That is important because RAs are often costly. And so some universities in Thailand are experimenting on a low cost recirculating system for sea bass, which is promising. And one of the major problems for all these, systems, especially when you look at intensive farming, is the pollution from nutrient waste, particularly nitrogen and phosphorus. So how to remove this waste? You have an option either to dilute or flush out the waste by water exchange, or you can use phototropic uptake. That means you can provide algae or other plants which can absorb these nutrients from the water. Or you can make use of the nitrification process, particularly you can see in the recirculating aquaculture system. And this is facilitated by bacteria, which you call the chemoautotropic bacteria. And you have another option to assimilate these nutrients by the help of heterotrophic bacteria, as you can see in systems like the biofloc. So then what is a biofloc? Biofloc is a promising technology, which is a closed system of production that can eliminate or reduce the ammonia and nitrogen in pond aquaculture. And you maintain the system by adding a carbon source so that it helps to convert the ammonia, the nitrogenous waste, to heterotrophic microbial biomass. So not this, it's a heterotrophic microbial biomass, that is a heterotrophic system, heterotrophic bacterial system. So it has got several benefits, particularly it can help reduce the pathogens, improve product quality, improve growth, and also provide micronutrients, and ultimately all these can reduce FCR and the cost of production. But again, cost of production is still debated because there are several practical issues when you deal with biofloc systems. So how the biofloc systems are different from conventional systems? See, conventional systems are basically dependent on the primary productivity or the algal production to maintain the system. Here, oxygen is produced during the day and also consumed during the night. So daily oxygen production is of the order of 4 grams oxygen per square meter. And organic matter is also produced because it generates a lot of, what you call even the sludge. And the control of nitrogen is done by primary productivity, which has got a limited capacity. But biofloc, in contrast, it is based on the microbial activity and not algae. What is a microbe? The heterotrophic bacteria. And here the oxygen is consumed because bacterial generation needs a lot of oxygen, and also organic matter is consumed. And you make use of the production system, that is nitrification and control of nitrogen. Here the bacteria has got unlimited capacity. So this is also, biofloc is also different from RAS because there is no recirculation, but only recycling of rearing water, no external filtration in biofloc, and heterotrophic bacteria is involved in biofloc, whereas chemotrophic bacteria in RAS. And in biofloc, you need to add carbon source to promote bacterial development. So the difference between heterotrophic and nitrifying bacteria or chemoautotropic bacteria is that the capacity of assimilation of nutrients is different, because heterotrophic bacteria can multiply much faster than the nitrifying bacteria. Therefore, the removal of ammonia is much faster. So there are advantages of biofloc: stable water quality, high biosecurity, greater production, better feeding efficiency, faster growth, and also it helps to avoid or reduce the use of fish meal, particularly by using the dried biofloc as a feed ingredient, and it can potentially lower the production costs. But there are many disadvantages with biofloc, especially with the requirement of high dissolved oxygen. And because it's an intensive system, power failures can be dangerous, and the lining of pond or tanks are often required. And it also needs good technical efficiency, particularly for the personnel working, and it's high energy cost. And of course, the sludge discharge is still a problem, and that can still pose some environmental challenges. So having said this, the biofloc, and now we will look at some of the emerging land-based aquaculture innovations, which are useful for finfish. I provide some examples that are recently reported from Singapore. You see very closed recirculation systems, particularly for high-value fish. Here, the barramundi, the latest calcarifer or sea bass, is being farmed in a highly advanced recirculation system. And you see systems that are called vertical recirculating aquaculture systems, or VRAS, which is a solution for urban aquaculture production system, and also integration with nanobubbles. It is useful for both fish and shrimp, and particularly for freshwater fish such as jade perch and tilapia, and also marine fish like sea bass. And you see the vertical recirculation system, which is very efficient for marine fish and also for shrimp. This is a company, Apollo Aquaculture Group, Singapore. And another example is because of this highly advanced systems, you can also bring subtropical fish to tropical region. This is an example of a recirculating system for sturgeon in Thailand. They produce the caviar, which is a highly expensive product from sturgeons. They produce as much as 1.5 tons of caviar per year. So this is really a great example. And another example that we never think, or we never imagine that we can grow salmon in such warmer climate as ours. But here you have an example of land-based salmon farm in Dubai, where it's an advanced system with the water chilling unit, and they produce 10 to 15 tons per month since 2013. So these are excellent examples. And we also have, genetically modified salmon, which are being approved by several countries, and that can really change the extent of production from salmon, and even make salmon a lot cheaper. So examples of sea-based coastal farming, the cage culture has its own issues, its own challenges to the environment, but there are new systems that can overcome the challenges of conventional cage farms like this, because these are called the floating containment farms, where you have the closed recirculation system pumping water from the sea, then it passes through a water treatment system, then goes to the production tanks, and then the effluents are also treated, and it can in fact increase the stocking density in cage farms up to 60 kg per ton compared to the conventional recirculation system like 15 kg per ton. So this is a remarkable enhancement of production. And another example is a steel barge farms, where the abandoned ships have been used. So the tank size are much more, and automation is possible. You see fully automated smart floating fish farm in Singapore. This type of concept farms are being developed in many parts of the world. So going to the final section of my presentation today. So to achieve sustainability, we also need to embrace new age technologies. you have heard of the most digitalized era we are living with. The traditional aquaculture 1.0 is now going to fully automated aquaculture 5.0 with all this integration of digital technologies in the way we produce aquaculture. So this is what we call the digital transformation is in fact transforming the entire food production sector. So an example, you have the real-time water quality monitoring systems in aquaculture. You see, this is the example from a intensive tilapia farm in Thailand, where the water quality is continuously monitored and in real time. And you have the counters, the PL level, egg level and PL counters. For example, this expert C counter has in fact being used by several shrimp farms and also fish farms for counting at different stages. And another recent development of counters in Thailand, what we call the the see-through counter, again used for counting eggs and small fry in several fish farms and hatcheries. Then technology is revolutionizing the feeding. We have the smart controllers or auto feeders, which are also based on fish behavior-based feeding, or developing models, also integrating water quality parameters or weather parameters. And these sensors are really revolutionizing the way we feed fish. And going hand in hand, you also have several innovations in the feed manufacturing technology, in the production of extruded pellets, which are even suitable for smart aqua feeders, auto feeders. And integration of artificial intelligence. Yeah, I'll finish in a while. So integration of artificial intelligence also making waves in aquaculture sector. You have all these integration automation gadgets. Example, the Eruvaga Technologies AquaConnect in India, the e-fishery or Jala in Indonesia, and also integrating computer vision for efficient fish monitoring. As you can see in this salmon, the way salmon is fed continuously, so that feeding is possible in such a precise way, continuously in small quantities. This is a video from a salmon farm in Norway. And also the salmon farming has a lot of innovations, particularly in feeding.
Technology as well.
The intelligent feeding.
We first got for black and white, and they were very fuzzy. You
can see they are continuously monitored using cameras.
Fantastic.
And all the fish are monitored, quite closely, almost 24 hours. So these systems are actually, becoming more advanced. And you have gadgets for fish behavior tracking, especially this helps for efficient feeding. And you have drones and remotely operated vehicles that are useful particularly for cage farming of fish. And you can see such robotic, underwater drones can in fact contribute to sustainable cage farming. And 3D printing is another amazing technology that is changing the way we do aquaculture and also, environmental monitoring. This is a 3D printed robotic fish developed in MIT. And also the blockchain technology is getting more integrated into aquaculture, particularly in enhancing traceability and also contributing sustainably to the aquaculture value chain. So digital transformation has its own challenges and opportunities, and all these technologies can in fact transform the way we do aquaculture. As I said before, you see the future fish farms will look like these unmanned or remotely operated cages, or what we sometimes call the aquaports. This is another concept that has the potential to be the future fish farms. So looking at the future, you have you know that climate change is impacting aquaculture, and you need to develop climate resilient aquaculture technologies. You need new species, new farming methods, less intensive open water farming and more intensive land-based farming, as we have seen in the examples. And we need novel marketing strategies, particularly in the live marketing certification, transition from traditional to more advanced systems. And we also need to develop entrepreneurial capacities in young minds like yours, and also promote good governance that will provide good regulations. So radical changes are needed in the aquaculture sector, and most radical technology-enabled production systems will prevail that will retain competitiveness while ensuring environmental, economical, and social sustainability. So as researchers, you have greater responsibility working with the industry, and we really need to integrate such sustainable production models, and particularly with small-scale operators, because they are the most dominant producer segment in aquaculture. So to conclude, smart aquaculture would be the future, particularly for finfishes, and there are emerging technology innovations that are key to the future. But at the same time, the ability of smallholder farmers to adopt the innovations is still limited in Asian countries, and many innovations are beyond their financial capacity. So we really need stronger producer-consumer organizations or clusters to improve their production model, and more robust investment in aquaculture research and development required in most Asian countries. So that is where I conclude, and thank you very much for your patient listening.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Krishna Salin. Dr. Krishna Salin talked many about new technology, smart aquaculture for sustainable aquaculture, with many examples from Asia and Africa country. Thank you so much. I believe there is many discussion from the audience, but please hold. We will proceed for the third speakers. Muhammad Fuadi, M.Si from Suri, Tani, Pemuka, that will talk about sustainable shrimp aquaculture.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Dini.
Yeah. Are there any CV from the IT team? Okay. Muhammad Fuadi, S.Pi, M.Si is from Business and Research Development Manager of Aquaculture Technology and Development, ATD, Java Aquaculture Indonesia, from 2010 and 2012 as a Global Innovation and Solution Unit, GISU, PT Komindo Trading Utama Global Gin. Education, Bapak Muhammad Fuadi took Master Science, Aquaculture Science in Institut Pertanian Bogor, and he also took an exchange program, IPB and Chiba University in educational or instructional technology, Sakura Science program in Japan, and also in 2018 in James Cook University, Australia, in Australia Short-Term Award Aquaculture Benchmarking. So, Bapak Muhammad Fuadi, are you ready for the presentation?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, time is yours.
Is my voice clear enough on your side, Bu?
Yes, clear.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Bu Dini, for the introduction, and also for inviting me in this session. This is nice to have all of you here today, and thank you for having me as well. I would like to share my screen first. Yeah. Okay. Is my screen displayed?
Yes, clear.
Okay, thank you so much, Bu Dini. Okay, today in this session, in the last session, we are talking about, I will convey about the sustainable shrimp aquaculture. Yeah, I'm working for aquaculture technology and development for PT Suri dan Pemuka, Java Aquaculture in Indonesia. As we know, aquaculture is divided into two things: aquaculture for food, yeah, and aquaculture for non-food. Aquaculture for food, they are provide our source here for animal protein. There are essential amino acid and essential fatty acid contained in the fish or shrimp that we can utilizing for our life, yeah, for our health. And the second one's aquaculture for non-food. We can divide into four, especially for business process. For example, the ornamental fish, yeah, the business of ornamental fish. And the second is recreation, education, and conservations, which these things is combined in one we call ecotourism. So if we look the global aquaculture, global capture fisheries and aquaculture productions in the world, yeah, the global productions is about 178 million metric tons. The contribute of aquaculture is 46, and capture fisheries is about 54. If you look in this graph, the aquaculture is increased significantly. It's about 25% in a decade. Compared to the capture fisheries, is about 7% in a decade. So the global fisheries productions tend to increase by year, whether either aquaculture and capture or capture fisheries. But for the 2030, we are expected to increase the aquaculture productions from 46% to 53%. So the 53% is expected to originate from aquaculture productions. If we look for regional contributions to global fisheries and aquaculture productions, Indonesia consists in Asia, excluding China. We see here the same situations with the global aquaculture or the global capture production tends to increase, yeah, decade by decade, whether is either is capture fisheries, inland waters, marine waters, or aquaculture, inland and marine waters. How about the consumptions of the global fish utilization, either for food or non-food uses, is tends to increase by year along with the increase of human populations. For example, in 2014 to 2018, we see the increase of the consumption of 5 kilogram per capita, and the fish that consists of shrimp inside, yeah, as well is in 2030 expected to increase, yeah, from 52 to 59 originate from aquaculture production. How if we look the global aquaculture productions by species group, yeah, aquaculture productions, the aquaculture productions in the global dominate with finfish here, 49 or about 59 million metric tons, and then aquatic plants is about 28%, and mollusk 16%, or it's about 19 million metric tons, and the last is crustacean, still only 70% or 9 million metric tons. What I mean is here is the crustacean includes shrimp inside this data, is a very potential to expand, yeah, to expand our business, or our activity in aquaculture. In Indonesia, we know, yeah, we see the data aquaculture production tends to increase by year, and also fish and fishery products tends to increase by year. But in the 2020 we see the slightly decrease, yeah, because we are in a survive conditions for COVID-19 endemic situations. And if we look in the contributions of Indonesian aquaculture productions by commodity, includes seaweed here. Shrimp is about 5.80%, but if we excluding seaweed, in this Indonesia aquaculture productions, shrimp is the third positions after tilapia, and catfish is about 70.2%. So in these sessions, we are talking about what is the sustainable aquaculture. As we know, aquaculture is activity to control cultivations in for aquatic animals or aquatic plants to get more profit. And sustainability, as we know, sustainability is our ability to fulfill our needs nowadays without sacrifice the ability of the next generations to fulfill their needs in the future. So it is our responsible for aquaculture activity. Sustainable aquaculture consists in three aspects. The first one, we are talking environmental sustainability, like aquaculture should not create significant disruptions to the ecosystem or cause the loss of biodiversity or substantial pollution impact. The second one is economic sustainability, means the aquaculture must be a viable business with good long-term prospect. And the third one is social and community sustainability. Talking about the aquaculture must be socially responsible and contribute to community well-being. So if we would like to reach the sustainable aquaculture system, we have to making a holistic approaches that I mentioned before, like social responsibility, economic development, and environmental responsibility. We have to make a study as a holistic to reach the sustainable aquaculture system. But in this process to reach the sustainable aquaculture, we should have use the application or implementation the technology. For example, the technology for social responsibility, we have to consider, we have to thinking about or pay attention more about the technology is feasible enough or not, or productive enough or not for the workers or for the farmers. And the second one, the technology is for economic development is relevant enough for the activity of the aquaculture. Is it, and the important one is the profitable. The technology application is profitable for our economic development. The third ones for environmental responsibility, the technology is friendly or not for our environment, as our responsible for our environment in this climate change situations. And then the technology is compatible with our environmental situations, like that. So if we can make the holistic approach with these three things, we can increase the aquaculture productivity, the economic performance improves, efficient in utilizing the resources, and reduce environmental damage impact problem, and also food safety and quality. We can reach the things. So talking about the technology is a combining of technical method as process skill that can manipulate it. Yeah, they can manipulate it, change to reach our target, yeah, to reach to produce the product and service, because sometimes the farmers they are need the technology based on their problem. Yeah, so we can say that the technology is come from the problem, based on the problem oriented. They have the problem oriented. They have the problem. What is the proper technology applications that we have to apply to solve their problem? And the second one is technology come from the demand oriented. Sometimes they need to increase their productivity and efficiency in the aquaculture activity. So what is the technology? What is the concordant? What is the suitable technology to apply it with? There's a lot of technology in aquaculture activity, such as technology for water treatment, technology for feeding, technology for genetics, technology for marketplace, and technology for what's called environmental itself. So there's a lot of, but how to improve aquaculture productivity and efficiency through technology and innovation and reach a successful environmental sustainability? The first one, we have to update our knowledge, yeah, update our knowledge, making evaluations to create the innovation and then we have to incubations to improvisation the innovation, and we do the sharing external. We have to share the knowledge here in internal or external process. But the main things, the important things, yeah, for technology application in aquaculture, in sustainable aquaculture, is consists on three things. The first one is simple, the second one is technical, and the third is practical. The simple means that utilization is easy, access material and equipments. Sometimes we have to consider where is the installations should be built in. Yeah, we have to pay more attention regarding the access of material and equipments for support the activity. And then design of SOP also simple and ready to understand. The second one is technical, the implementations of applied science like a physical, biological, chemistry, chemical, yeah, and mathematics. The applications like how we formularize the problem, and then observations, make a hypothesis, experiment, evaluation, and make conclusions. And the third ones in application of technology should be practical. Is it to apply in daily aquaculture activity? And the second is practically based on what we need in all operational activity. Is it suitable with our budget or not? Because there's a lot of technology in the world that we have to make them practical. So we have to choose where is the suitable technology in for our sustainable aquaculture activity. So if we can divine the problem simple, technical, and practical, we can solve the problem. So sustainable aquaculture system consists, as I mentioned before, consists in three aspects. The first one is environmental sustainability. We're talking about the environmental practice. The economic sustainability, we're talking about the sustainable business and farm management practice regarding the using of the probiotic, minimize the antibiotic and pharmaceutical use, microbial sanitations, maintain global standard for hygiene, and so on. And the third one is social and community sustainability. We are talking about the community practice, like how the regulations, worker safety, and labor practice and compensations. But in this session, I will focus on the environmental practice because our topic is how the tropical aquaculture and fisheries management under global environmental changes. Talking about the environmental practice, there are a lot of activity like a mangrove and wetland conservations, and the efficient fish meal and fish oil use, effective effluent management and water quality control, and then sediment control and sludge management, soil and water conservations, responsible sourcing of shrimp, broodstock, and PL. We have to focus in on also on this matter. And the second and the last one is control of escapes and minimizing the biodiversity and wildlife impact, as both of our speakers present to us today. I will focus on three aspects: the efficient fish meal and fish oil, effective effluent management and water quality control, and the last is sediment control and sludge management technology. Actually, we have to apply the technology is suitable for reach the environmental sustainability. According to Ministry of Marine and Fisheries, the industrialization of efficiency, quality, and sustainability consists of four aspects. The first one is production technology innovations, how to efficient our productivity for in our operation, and then market oriented for food safety. We're talking about the quality, whether our product is meet the customer requirements or needs or not. The third one is sustainability of economic, society, and environment. So we're talking about the sustainable itself. And the fourth one is upstream and downstream integrations and synergy of stakeholders. So what is the kind of technology that can apply in the stream to reach the sustainable stream aquaculture? The first one, we are talking the efficiency of fish meal and fish oil use. We have to consider about the CO2 emission reduction with selected fish feed. We have to making the best formulations of the best raw materials. The second one is minimize the use of feed that has an impact on high nitrogen and phosphorus level on the waste, because this is the both of these nutrients is very impactful for our environment. The third one is the use of functional feeds like immunostimulant, immunoenhancer, probiotic, and so on. The second ones, we are talking about the water quality control, application of UV disinfection in water preparation process and chemical material substitutions. Because in this nowadays, we can see in Indonesia or in the other country, they still use the chlorination process for treatment the water supply for the stream farm, which is the chlorinations residue is very has a damage effect for our environmental. The third one is sediment control and sludge management, and also effective effluent management. How we implement it, the wastewater treatment plant in low cost but effective, because sometimes the stream farmer didn't consider regarding the wastewater treatment plant, because why I should provide the other costs, yeah, for our in this activity, in this aquaculture activity, without thinking about the environmental effect, yeah, the damage of environmental effect if they discharge the effluent wastewater from the aquaculture activity to the environment. The first one is UV disinfections. We are applied this UV disinfection for substitute the using of chemical material like hypochlorite and then hydrogen peroxides and so on. We applied in our stream hatchery for UV disinfection. There are several installations for disinfections, yeah, the microbial, especially parameters. And the second ones in the stream farm, yeah, UV disinfection can implement it in open channel system. Like this, we just put the UV sterilization in the canals of the water supply, or we just making the closed channel system, like the water should flow in the tube or pipe with the configurations of the UV lamp inside the pipe, with considering about the intensity and the doses. This is the one example that we are setting the UV disinfections to substitute or replace the using of the chlorinations process, yeah, in one of our customer in West Nusa Tenggara. This is the plumbing of the water preparations. We use the 70 millijoule per centimeter square for disinfections regarding the disease, yeah, the disease like febrile parahemolyticus that cause AHPND. I think all of you know what is the disease about in shrimp. And then we hope, yeah, with this technology, this technology can support their productivity and also efficiency in the chemical materials utilization. The second one is wastewater treatment. As we know, the wastewater treatment consists of 3 treatments. The first one is physical treatment. The second one in biological treatment, and then the last is chemical treatment. The physical treatments like filtrations, we set up the screen grid chamber, we do the sedimentations or clarified, we do the ultrafiltrations membrane, ultrafiltrations membrane in hatchery or in other stream farming, and then we do the method of flotation, absorption, adsorption, or aerations. In biological treatment, we divide into two. Utilization of microbes, yeah, for waste decompositions. The first one is aerobic. The second one is anaerobic. Aerobic ponds or aerated lagoons is one of the method, yeah, in biological treatment. And then activated sludge process, extend aeration, oxidation, aeration and oxidation ditch. And for anaerobic in biological treatment, we can use the anaerobic filtrations, non-aeration pond, and or the other methods like anaerobic baffle reactor. And the last, for chemical treatment, we can do the oxidations, alkali disinfection, electrolysis, coagulations, or we can combine all of these treatment, physical or biological treatments, like bioreactor membrane or moving bed bioreactors, or stabilization ponds or anoxic treatment. Sometimes in a stream farm, we have to meet, yeah, with the government regulations regarding the waste water discharge, yeah, from stream farm. Yeah, sometimes they need the what's called the minimized model of the wastewater treatment without any disturb the productions process. This is the wastewater flow chart. Yeah, the effluent from the stream farm, we have to equalize first. Yeah, equalize first in the equalization ponds, and we can make the anaerobic pond, and then flow to aerobic ponds, and then to sedimentation pond. And in sedimentation pond, we can pumping out the sediment to the drying bed, and we can use the cake or the sediment or the sludge as a fertilizer in agriculture. And then the water the stabilizations would be stabilizations or biofiltrations first, and then there's we do the disinfection or sterilizing before we effluent before we discharge the effluent to the ocean or the environment. The equalization pond have to meet the conditions like hydraulic retention times minimum for 4 hours, and anaerobic ponds HRT minimum 72 hours or 3 days. It's according to the ratio of chemical oxygen demand and biological oxygen demands up to 1.5. And aerobic ponds in HRT minimum 8 hours, and sedimentations should be HRT minimum 2 hours, and stabilization ponds HRT minimum 2 hours as well. So if we can complete this flow charts or the segmentations of the wastewater treatment process, we can reach the sustainable stream aquaculture system. This is for the example, the complete of wastewater treatment. The wastewater come from the stream farm, yeah, and into the oxidation farm, to the next to the sedimentation process, sedimentation pond, and the last sedimentation pond, and we can bypass the sludge to sedimentation process again before we discharge the effluent directly to the ocean. In this process, we call we can set the biofilter or something. We can moving bioreactors, or also we can apply the disinfection or sterilization process before discharge the effluent. This is the minimalist, as I mentioned before, because the farmers sometimes need their saving, their cost of operational. We can just put one pond for, or sacrifice the one pond for wastewater treatment plant. They just need one pond for oxidation and sedimented the sludge, and then drying to bed. This is our proposal for marine ministry or marine and fisheries in Indonesia as minimalist wastewater treatment plant. This the second ones. For example, the wastewater treatment plant, we use the sedimentation process, submersible sedimentation process, for twice process, like the first one, the first one and the second one of wastewater treatment is the same. We just need the drying bed outside the ponds and collect the sludge to decrease the volume of the sludge in our stream farm. This is the other wastewater treatment, water treatment that I showed you earlier. This is the how we look on the other side. The wastewater treatment plant is first, and the second before we pumping or gravity the effluent to the ocean. This is also the
Fuadi,
yes.
Your time is 2 minutes left.
Okay, thank you. This is the last, I think, of my slides for wastewater treatment. This is the other kind of wastewater treatment plant in shrimp farm in Indonesia. So the take-home messages in my sessions regarding the sustainable shrimp aquaculture consists of environmental sustainability, economic sustainability, and social community sustainability. Talking about the environmental sustainability implemented by environmental practices such as efficient fish meal and fish oil, effective effluent management and water quality control, and how we control the sediment control and sludge management. And also technology application of UV disinfection and wastewater treatment plant could be a support in achieving environmental sustainability in shrimp farming activity. Thank you, Dr. Dini. That's all that I presented to all of you.
Yes. Thank you so much, Fuadi. Thank you so much. So we believe there is many discussion from the chat room, and we also will invite you raise hand up and directly ask by open your mic. But before we entering a discussion session, we will have a photo session. Could you please open your cam, all the participants, and IT team will help us to take a picture for all of us. Please open your cam. Thank you so much.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to capture the screen. Please turn on your camera. Okay. I'll start in the first page. 1, 2, 3. The second page. And the last pages. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the IT. So let's us continue for the discussion session. There is some question already in the chat room. Let me read from the first question. The first question is from Mr. Muhammad Attar from Indonesia. If the question is for Dr. Bambang, if each state university in Indonesia could support cultivation project on native fish for 100 species for a number of years, then Indonesia should have more 3,500 native fish. Is it possible? So my second question is, what happened in your country? Who has the responsible task? Thank you. So from Muhammad Attar for Dr. Bambang. And then next question also for Dr. Bambang is from Ganesh Jatu Maharsi. Excuse me. What is the meaning of fish domestication? Can we call the fish is already domesticated if we successfully keep them in artificial container, or we already able to breed them in the container? And then the second question from Mbak Ganesh is about cultivating Rasbora fish. As I know, Rasbora growth is a little bit slower than the commonly cultivated fish like tilapia, catfish, etc. So that the price of the cultivated Rasbora will be increased and expensive. Is there any way to maximize the growth of Rasbora fish? And then the third question is, Rasbora fish sometimes left bitter taste when we cook the fish. Is there any way to make the bitter taste gone? Thank you in advance. That's the question for the Pak Bambang. Maybe Pak Bambang will respond first.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dini, and also for the question. First, I'd like to try to so Indonesia, as I explained, we have more than or around 440 native freshwater species, and only around 5 which already been mass cultivated and also commercially available from the cultivation. So it is very interesting if there is some program for the government in order, for example, how we try to cultivate as many as possible for the Indonesian native fish, such as, for example, the sidat or anguilla, and also for some others which has very high economic value and very high in demand in the market. It is very interesting. So if there is a task for the university to cultivate or domesticate the native fish, then I think it will be very excellent. Maybe not for example the quantity, but at least there is some fish which already in state of endangered, or the fish which have very high demand or the economic values, or even there is some species which has potential as the medical or medicine source, such as, for example, Conus geographus. It is very important to maintain or to keep them alive or even exist in the nature because of the value. So yes, this is very important. So my response is that it will be very nice if the government has this such program. And for the second question, who actually has the responsibility? So the fish conservation responsibility is it is a responsibility of all community members. However, serious support from the government is very important, such as, for example, the regulation. As we know already, regulation for fish conservation is very difficult, especially in the For example, in the what kind of punishment, for example, if there is some violation of the conservation rule or practices. Yeah, so it is very important to have such very clear and strict regulation to yeah, to keep or to maintain the conservation or for conservation practice. And the second one, I think it will be better if there is specific stimulant from the government for the fish farmer. Since, yeah, in my experience, if the farmer try to shift from one kind of fish to other kind of fish, it need sometimes and also some financial consequences. Then the availability of the stimulant from the government or from the other sector will be very important, so that the process will be run smoothly. This is at least there is some of the idea which I have. And there is a question about the domestication. So what is the criteria for the domestication? So there is a regulation from the government, such as the regulation of the Ministry of the Marine and Fisheries of the Republic of Indonesia, year 2021, which mentioned about domestication. So according to this regulation, domesticated fish are the type of wild fish that have been adapted to the cultivation environment, and there is should be reproduced at least 2 generations. So as long as this criteria fulfilled, then we are I think the domestication could be proceed. But yeah, the certification of domesticated fish should be released by the Ministry of the Marine and Fisheries. There is some section which will handle this process for the domestication proposal. Yeah, but there is some regulation which are some criteria to be fulfilled. In our experience, now we are already in the 6th generation, which already produce egg. So I think in terms of this criteria, we already fulfill the domestication criteria, and now we are in the process for the domestication certificate. So, and then for the next question, yeah, about the little bit slower. Yes, so actually the Rasboran has slow growth rate, but in order to encompass this handicap or in this situation, we try in the process of choosing the brood or the candidate of the brood stock, we try to choose the fish which has the best phenotype according to our observation, such as they are the growth rate of the fish very. So in the population of the larvae, usually we could find several fish which grow very fast, dominated, or they have very active behavior. Then we try to examine this phenotype, and we choose this as the candidate to produce the egg. And the second one, we try to introduce the natural feed or the natural food for the fish. What we already tried is we introduce worm, cacing sutra, based on during the initial work, we tried to study the stomach of the fish, and then we found several insect and worm inside. Then we decide it as the natural or their natural food. Yeah. Okay, next about the bitter taste. So yeah, sometimes if especially in the biggest one, in the big size of the fish, if we fry the fish, then there is a bitter taste. This bitter taste actually caused by the bile or empedu. Yeah. So our strategy is, first we try this bile usually will contaminate the gonad. So we recognize that if the fish already ready for the mating and the gonad already formed, then the bitter taste will stronger compared to if very in the early stage. Then in order to avoid the bitter taste, usually we for the certain culinary, we will harvest, for example, in the early stage, such as 2 months old. But for other, which we could handle the bitter taste, we will harvest on the third month after third month, yeah, cultivation. So in our experience, this practice could reduce the bitter taste, or usually we also clean the stomach of the fish. Yeah, then the bitter taste will not appear or reduce drastically. Yeah.
Okay.
And then yeah, there is still two questions about the, for example, the invasive species such as nila or mujair and lele dumbo. Yeah, according to the regulation, Indonesian regulation, there is no prohibition for the cultivation of nila, tilapia, or lele. Yeah, as long as there is strict regulation that the fish only be cultivated in the closed system or pond. Yeah, pond. It will not be released to the river or to the open water system. This is dangerous if they are released. So the invasive species or introduced species should be, there is a regulation that they should be keep on the pond. Yeah. And then how about what is the character most difficult during the cultivation? So usually the adaptation and the adaptation of the fish is very difficult to handle during the early or initial stage of the cultivation. Fish usually from the nature wild type, very difficult for the adaptation. But after second generation or third generation, it will be very easier to introduce the fish for the reproduction or for the to produce egg compared to the first. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bambang, for the response. And let me move to the next question from Muhammad Shaifuddin. But Dr. Salin already answered the question. The question is, what is the best CNP ratio for biofloc technology, shrimp culture? Also, what the optimum biofloc volume media culture for shrimp rearing intensive? Thank you. So Dr. Salin Krishna already answered the question. The optimum CN ratio may vary under different production conditions, but the best theoretical CN ratio might range between 7 and 10. The flock volume in intensive shrimp culture should be less than 5 milliliter per liter. It may range between 2 and 5. In tilapia, on the other hand, the flock volume will be higher, around 40 milliliter per liter. That is from Dr. Krishna response.
Yeah,
And then
maybe I think I can still explain it a bit more.
Okay.
Yeah, because it will be useful for the, I think that's a very good question.
Yeah.
See, in the biofloc function, what is the main aim for biofloc? In most cases, we have an improved water quality. So we have the heterotrophic bacteria that can remove or absorb or assimilate the nitrogen from the system. So nitrogen, ammonia is a metabolic waste, and ammonia hydrolyzes to NH4+. You have the NH4+ ion in the water. And in biofloc, we add a carbon source. For example, if you consider glucose as a common carbon source, so it's based on the stoichiometry of ammonia removal. I think you have learned in chemistry the stoichiometry according to the molecular mass. So nitrogen has 14 N, the ammonia NH4+ has 14 N, then the glucose will have about 84.96, and the system needs high alkalinity because the action of heterotrophic bacteria will in fact reduce the alkalinity of the system. This happens even in the recirculation system where you have the chemoautotrophic bacteria. And in biofloc, again, this removal of nitrogen needs a lot of alkalinity. That means the system should have enough bicarbonate. So that has got like the total carbon. So if you add up and if you divide the total carbon in the system by the 14 nitrogen, then you get 6.93. So that is a theoretical C carbon divided by nitrogen ratio. So that really means that if you maintain the CN ratio above 7, you can make sure that the system has dominant heterotrophic bacteria. Otherwise, it will be the chemotrophic bacteria. And if you provide enough oxygen, enough bicarbonate, and the carbon source, you can make sure that the system has enough heterotrophic bacteria rather than the chemotrophic bacteria or the nitrifying bacteria. So that is the underlying principle behind how we adjust the CN ratio. And again, one problem with high CN ratio is that you get more, sludge problem. The sediments become more. And then if you have more sediments, you have more nitrite, NO2 also will become more. So it's a vicious cycle. If you have more NO2, you have to add more carbon source. So the system relies on how well you can balance the system, and so that the entire NH4 is reduced, the NO2 is consumed, and you have a system with zero ammonia and a bit of NO3. So that is the main problem with the biofloc. As I said before, there are many practical issues, and you really need to keep the system on a steady state of equilibrium. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Salin, for the comprehensive explanation. So for the next question is for Mr. Fuadi. Is it possible to use UV for Skeletonema disinfection before use it for shrimp larvae in hatchery to reduce some pathogen in live feed? Thank you. And then also from Babak Muhammad Saifuddin, my second question is implementing WWTP in shrimp farming industry. What is the best ratio for rearing pond and WWTP pond for effective and quick effluent treatment? Thank you. And then the third question is from Indrian Rizka Amalia. The use of chlorine is common because it's lower price compared with other agents. So can the small scale farmer adapt the wastewater treatment plant as you show in the slide? And how many years or months it is life duration for UV compartment? I experienced simple UV for salt water sterilization, but it stands only 1 year. Thank you. Mr. Fuadi, time is yours to respond.
Thank you, Dr. Dini. Thank you as well for Pak Saifuddin and Bu Indrian for the questions. I would like to respond regarding the UV sterilization first, from Pak Saifuddin and Bu Indrian as well. So for the first question from Pak Saifuddin regarding the skeletonema disinfection by UV sterilization, UV disinfections, is possible. I answered is the possible because if we talk about the UV sterilization, we're talking about the two things. The first one is intensity. Intensity, we're talking about the contact time and flow rate of the water. The second one is the to intensity and the dose. The intensity is talking about the flow rate and also flow rate and also the contact time. And the second one is the dose. What is the dose suitable with the skeletonema disinfection? We are still working for the other dinoflagellate, like the other, because the dinoflagellate in shrimp farming is a very impact, a very negative impact for our shrimp farming activity. But for the diatom like skeletonema, we can sterilize by those 30 up to 300 to 320 millijoule per centimeter per centimeter square of the dose. Yeah, with the contact time is about 10 seconds. This is my answer for the first question. So if the skeletonema, but we have to consider regarding the self recovery of the diatom, because after we apply the UV disinfections, several diatom has self recovery after UV disinfection. We have to consider about that. Yeah. For the second questions from Bu Indrian, yeah, the use of chlorine. The use of chlorine in shrimp farming is very highly cost. Yeah, it's about for chlorinize they need almost 10% of the cost of productions. So this is not lower price for apply the chlorinations or the hypochlorite with hypochlorite sterilizations in the shrimp farm. But for the small scale, come back to the dose of the UV lamp. UV lamp, they have to a proper dose. What is our target actually? This is the viruses or bacteria or plankton or protozoa. We have to define it first before we use the UV sterilization. So if we talking about how many years of months is the life durations of the UV compartment, it's depend on the activations of the lamp itself. In the normally it's about 1,000 hours of operations, the UV lamp. Yeah. But we have to consider, we have to pay more attention regarding the specifications of the lamp. Sometimes we found the supplier with the other with the different brand of the UV lamp. You have to focus where is the what is the best brand of this UV lamp, because if we don't pay more attention with the specifications, yeah, it's possible to stand only for 1 year if you use the UV lamp, yeah, for marine water. Is this my questions? The second question from Pa Saifuddin as well, regarding the implementing of wastewater treatment in shrimp farming industry. What is the best ratio for rearing ponds and wastewater treatment ponds? Yeah, the ratio actually 30% of the wastewater treatment plant compared to the rearing tanks. Sometimes that I mentioned in my presentations, farmers didn't ask to the government as well, or ask to our company which one the best what's called the best combinations of the water treatment activity, like process oxidations process, and then sedimentations process, disinfection process, that can compact in one pond only, in one pond only. So if you ask about the how many ratio, the best ratio is 30%, because we cannot sacrifice our productivity and making a combination, making changes if we found, or if we face the challenge regarding the disease infections something. But for minimalist wastewater treatment plant that could be applied in 5% of the total of rearing ponds. But it's according to the if we're talking about the wastewater treatment in shrimp pond, we are talking about the peak load, yeah, of the wastewater. Or where's the time of peak load, yeah, peak load of the water flow in our shrimp farming. The answer is in the harvesting conditions. Is it the peak of the wastewater input? Yeah. So we have to consider regarding that, but 5%, yeah, 5% is enough for example, 1 ponds to covering the wastewater from 20 ponds, something like that. And we have to consider regarding the flow rate of the wastewater itself. Thank you, Pak Saifuddin.
And then the third question about from Ibu Fibra.
Okay.
No. From Mbak Indrian Rizka Amalia.
Yes, I have answered these questions.
Oh, okay,
So,
okay.
1,000 hours, yes, of the
Oh, yes.
yeah, according to the operations of the land.
Yes, I mean, okay, that's all. Okay, thank you so much. So I believe still many questions in the chat room, but because of we ran out of time and time is up. So thank you so much for the participant for many discussion, and our honor to have 3 speakers today, Dr. Bambang, Dr. Krishna, and also Bapak Fuadi, for your incredible talk today about sustainable aquaculture practices as the coping strategies to climate changes. Please give a big applause for our speakers today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So our session about a course meeting today is enough, and then I will return back to the committee. Time is yours, committee. Hello, committee. So next session is a break from 4 to 4:50, only 5-minute breaks, and then there will be a discussion group for the participant. So we have 5 minutes break, and please welcome back on 4:15. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pak Bambang.
Thank you so much,
Thank you
Pak
very much, Dr.
Bambang.
Salin.
Thank you so
Thank you
much,
very much,
Dr.
Pak
Salin.
Fuadi.
Thank you so much, Pak Fuadi.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much and have a nice weekday.
Have a nice days.
Yeah, I'm actually waiting to travel to Indonesia on 19th, tomorrow. I'll be in Jakarta and also in Surabaya for the Shrimp Club meeting.
Yes, I will attend to the program
Okay.
as well.
Okay, should meet then.
Yeah.
See you.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you, Mr. Krishna.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you very much for all.
Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Could you please give me some thumbs up reaction if you can hear my voice loud and clear? Okay, thank you. So I hope everyone is ready because we only have 5 minutes for the rest, and after that we move to this session. But don't worry, for this session we will watch a video, so just be relaxed and stay tuned. Okay. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Gadjah. I'm a lecturer from Universitas Gadjah Mada. So for today, we would like to start our video sessions. And I'm not alone in here. I'm with Mr. Fatur as an IT, so he will help us in a technical stuff. Okay, perhaps let's cut to the case. Fatur, could you play the video for today's sessions?
Pertanian merupakan sektor unggulan yang ada di wilayah Yogyakarta. Pada tahun 2018, penggunaan lahan untuk pertanian mencapai 69.295 hektar. Sedangkan lahan yang digunakan untuk perikanan hanya 1.307 hektar saja. Wilayah selatan Yogyakarta misalnya, hanya tersisa lahan marginal yang dapat digunakan sebagai budidaya perikanan. Sayangnya, lahan marginal yang sebenarnya bisa menjadi potensi pengembangan budidaya perikanan belum menjadi fokus utama di wilayah Yogyakarta. Lahan berpasir memiliki kekurangan berupa miskin hara, pori yang besar, serta sifat yang tidak lihat. Untuk mengatasi permasalahan lahan berpasir sebagai lahan aquaculture, Biogrid hadir sebagai inovasi yang mampu mengubah lahan pasir menjadi lahan yang lebih produktif sehingga mampu meningkatkan produktivitas di bidang perikanan. Menurut keputusan Menteri Nomor 28 Tahun 2004, tambak biogrid merupakan petakan tambak yang dilapisi campuran semen, pasir, dan ijuk dengan kerangka atau tulangan bambu, badan dasar dilapisi dengan plastik. Contoh penerapan biogrid ada di PT Indokor Bangun Desa Kabupaten Bantul, Daerah Istimewa Yogyakarta. Biogrid memiliki keuntungan berupa pemanfaatan lahan marginal, tambak yang digunakan menjadi lebih steril, serta turut mengamankan lahan mangrove.
Selamat siang, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Saya Wandana Suri, staf HRD PT Indokor Bangun Desa. Sedikit mau menjelaskan bahwa PT Indokor Bangun Desa yang bergerak di dalam budidaya udang dimulai dari perjanjian antara Sri Sultan Hamengkubuwono X dengan sebagai pemilik lahan Sultan Ground, juga dengan Bapak Tani Agus Arbi almarhum sebagai pemilik PT Indokor Indonesia Jakarta. Dalam hal ini bekerja sama membangun kawasan tambak udang di daerah Kuaru, Ponsosari, Sandakan, Bantul di tempat ini. Untuk konstruksi tambak sendiri, karena kita di lahan pasir, kita menggunakan konstruksi, kalau istilah kami dulu bioprecast ya, yaitu beton dengan tulangan bambu, karena itu dianggap cukup kuat dan sudah terbukti waktu gempa Jogja tahun 2006 itu banyak bangunan yang rusak, sementara konstruksi kita tambak Indokor ini tidak mengalami retak pun tidak. Itu dianggap cukup kuat dan sampai sekarang juga kita belum pernah mengganti untuk dinding dan konstruksi yang lain. Sampai sekarang masih berjalan bagus.
Selanjutnya kalau untuk mencegah air tayau masuk ke tanah ya, kalau kita posisinya sekarang pakai HDPE, ketebalannya itu 0,5. Kemudian nanti kalau ada lubang kita perbaiki. Jadi di awal persiapan budidaya itu ada lubang kita tutup, ada pintu-pintu yang meresap untuk menghindari porositas, kita pastikan itu tidak bocor. Karena itu mencegah untuk dinamika biar agar stabil airnya.
Untuk pengendapan kita menggunakan ipal, instalasi ipal yang sederhana mungkin ya. Jadi air buangan kita masukkan ke bak sedimentasi, di sana ada 6, 1, 2, 3, dan 5 dan 6. Untuk yang terakhir langsung kita setelah endapan sudah cukup atau airnya sudah kita anggap layak untuk kita salurkan ke pembuangan ke laut, langsung kita buang ke laut. Dengan treatment karena kita kasih kincir dan juga kita kasih batuan zeolit untuk pengendapannya.
Kalau terakhir untuk budidaya yang paling bagus hasilnya itu tahun 2019, tepatnya sebelum wabah AHPND ini menyerang.
Setelah bisa diatasi ya.
Nah, setelah AHPND sebelum menyerang ini kita produktivitas bisa di angka sekitar 15-20 ton per hektar. Setelah AHPND ini masuk tahun 2019 yang disinyalir dari Benur, itu ada penurunan produktivitas ini, hingga pada saat ini kendalanya yakni SR-nya turun, di mana tingkat kelangsungan hidupnya dari awal biasanya bisa 90%, saat ini hampir sekitar 50% tingkat kelangsungan hidupnya, hingga menurunkan produktivitasnya.
Ayo generasi muda, kita bersama-sama kembangkan inovasi teknologi di bidang aquaculture dengan mengembangkan sektor perikanan di Indonesia.
Okay, thank you, Fatur. So there was a short story about how the aquaculture was developed in the Yogyakarta region, especially in the brackish water aquaculture. So in short, I would like to ask for your help. Who think that the video is really interesting? Please give some reaction. Thumb up reaction. Who think the video is really interesting for you? Okay, thank you. So I will ask Mr. Shafiq from Malaysia. What do you think is the most interesting part of the video for you? Could you answer and open the camera to answer and sharing with us?
Okay. What I think interesting about the video is about the construction of the pond itself, I think, because it said that it's using what bioconcrete, that one, that biomaterial, which it can withstand the earthquake. Which is for me that's one of the remarkable biotechnology that has been developed over there. Because this is first time I'm hearing that that biomaterial to create that. This one that amazed me actually.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Shafiq. So in Malaysia, Mr. Shafiq,
Yes.
In Malaysia. Do you have some experience, the similar experience with this kind of technology? No?
I don't say I didn't have that experience yet, because I'm not really into aquaculture, because I'm more into fisheries, so I don't really exposed to aquaculture. I don't really. There are maybe there's some of the technologies, but I don't know about that yet. Maybe I have to go further searching for it. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, welcome.
So how about Mr. Muhammad Syaihuddin from Indonesia? Could you open your mic and also open your camera if possible?
Okay, thank you.
Oh, hello, Mr. Muhammad Syaihuddin. So do you think the video is interesting?
Sorry, so your voice is so...
Oh, okay. Is it loud and clear now?
Yeah.
Okay. You have watched the video in the first session before? You watched the video, Mr. Muhammad? Yes. So
yes,
what do you think?
The video.
What do you think the most interesting part of that video?
I think I like about the technology. For the advanced technology is just biofloc.
Oh, okay. So same with Mr. Syafiq, yeah. One of the most interesting is the technology that used in the shrimp pond. Okay.
But we
So
we can also increase it. Maybe the productivity until maybe 30 to 50 ton per hectare, maybe.
Okay, thank you.
But before it, we know that just 15 ton per hectare. We should increase it. But the actually is decreased because the outbreak of PND happened.
Yes. Yeah.
So maybe some technology, also some innovation, we can use it, the update.
Okay. Do you have some experience with the technology that can reduce the impact of the disease outbreak in the shrimp ponds, perhaps?
Maybe for reduce the happen or EMS, for the many published, we at the first we use the low salinity for the first, because in low salinity the virulence of some pathogen we can reduce it. Maybe it can be increase the survival rate.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Muhammad Syaihuddin.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
So I would like to extend some information about the video. So in short, the video tells us about how we as an aquaculturist in the Yogyakarta are dealing with the problem in our environment. Yogyakarta are surrounded by a mountain, so it is really possible that the soil that is exists on the land in the Yogyakarta are contain of a really high amount of sand. So it will make harder to make a shrimp pond because it's a low nutrition, and also it will make possible a leakage or water loss from the pond. So we are creating, like what Mr. Muhammad and Mr. Syafiq Aiman, we decided to use the biocrate technology. So in short, it is really make some cover of the ponds with the dike using a bamboo, and also add some cement, and also covering with the high density polyethylene plastic, so we can make a pond that can have a high productivity in the marginal land that exists in Yogyakarta. So I just a little bit curious, is the marginal land case that happened in Yogyakarta also exists in another places, perhaps in Malaysia or Myanmar? Is anyone want to share the story of what kind of problem that they're dealing with the aquaculture in their own place? Please, anyone?
Okay, I can share. Because as what from my reading, the Malaysian agriculture normally what they are facing is on the first one, of course, on the pollutions of the what we call the waste from the agriculture, and then that they were released into the wild, into the nature without untreated. That's why some the biotechnology has been applied into our Malaysian agriculture system. Some of them are using the integrated agriculture. But another issue is as land. Yes, land is also one of the problem because normally agriculture farm is big one, but in Malaysia there are also limited spaces, so this land's margin is always a problem. Because it is a problem, especially to the company that want to expand their what we call the areas. The other one is the seed problem itself. As what I heard, because some of them are not quality because due maybe due some defect of the biological or genetics. That's what I heard from Malaysian agriculture. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Shafiq. So I think the problem that happened in Malaysia also happened. That is, I would say, a common problem that
yes,
perhaps many of countries are dealing with.
Yes, almost.
Yeah.
Because we are Asian, I guess.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Shafiq. So for today's lessons, for today's lectures, we have talked a lot about the sustainable aquaculture, I think. And also, we could say that the aquaculture in the recent years has not only talked about an aquaculture itself. I mean, aquaculture is not as easy as creating a pond and also put a fish in there and hoping for the best. We have to think a lot about like what the last speaker, Mr. Muhammad Fuadi, he gave us a lot about how the aquaculture could be sustainable, environmentally, socially. So it is really important for us to understand how to make the aquaculture being sustainable. So I'm a little bit curious. Is there anyone want to share how the practice of sustainable aquaculture in their place? Perhaps from Indonesia? Is there anyone want to share the thought, experience, or knowledge regarding the sustainable aquaculture practice in their own place? Anyone? Perhaps Lutfia Rika? Lutfia Rika, could you share with us what your thought about sustainable aquaculture? No? How about Novita from Indonesia? Miss Novita? Okay, I see here. How about Miss Rohana Hidayati? could you share your thought about the sustainable aquaculture practice in, I think, from Kalimantan, Mr. Rohana?
Yeah, hello.
Okay, hello.
Open the camera. But I'd like to share about the sustainable aquaculture here in South Kalimantan, where I live now. Yeah, to me, it's how we link. I don't know how to say it in English, from hulu to hilir.
Okay.
So then, I'm working in a freshwater aquaculture. So I try to reuse water through the RAS system, the circulating aquaculture system. And then I'm currently working to use this maggot that I can use it as feed directly for the fish, or I can make it to be like a maggot meals to be used as ingredients for feed fish. And the maggot was produced by using every organic garbage, organic waste. So then it will be sustainable. It's not only that I depend on a fish feed company, but I can also produce fish feed by using the maggot and all the local ingredients. At the end of the practice of aquaculture, the fish should be able to use is not only for the whole fish for feed, but it can also, in my opinion, we can also use other part of fish as the bone and other product of the fish. So there will be no waste for fish. So that will be, in my opinion, a sustainable aquaculture look like, at least in freshwater. Thank you, Mr. Eka.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Rohana. So there was a really interesting thought about sustainable aquaculture. Are you right about at least two keywords in Ms. Rohana explanation? The first is about the water, and the second one is about the feed. So Mr. Rohana said that we use RAS, recirculation aquaculture system. It means that in Rohana place, they has already made sure that the use of water from the environmental, especially, is optimal, because if we talk about an aquaculture, sometimes we could use a lot of water, and if we don't care enough, sometimes it could be exceeding the carrying capacity of the aquaculture site in our place. So using less water is better. And one of the effort to do that is using the recirculation aquaculture system, or RAS. And also I hear about the feed, using a maggot and all other natural feed for the fish is also good beneficial for the environment, because up today we use most of the ingredient of the fish feed are extracted from the fish meal that is extracted from mostly the fish that is captured in the ocean. So using a lot of fish meal means that we need a lot of the fish from captured fisheries, and also there is no guarantee that the fish that extracted from the ocean are also free from the, for example, pollution like heavy metals, or perhaps one of the reason is microplastic. So using the natural feed that can be found around the aquaculture site will be a lot beneficial for the environment So it can be a good practice from the sustainable aquaculture, I think. So thank you for Ms. Rohana for sharing. Anyone else want to share about the practice of sustainable aquaculture in their own place? No? So I think right now we have to think about how our aquaculture practice in our specific location, in our own site, are become more sustainable than before, because the sustainable aquaculture has already one of the requirements for the environmental health, and also if you want to make your fish community to be accepted for the export, for example, to another country, you need some certification that require the sustainable practice of aquaculture. And like I said before, the aquaculture is not about you making a pond and put a fish on them and hoping for the best. Sustainable aquaculture are all about measurement, determine, and also the calculation of carrying capacity, the impact to the environment, and also the impact to the community and the social, and many others. So this is the basic of the management knowledge. What can get measured can get managed, and what can get managed can be done sustainably. So I think that was the take-home message for me. I think we are still have another 10 minutes. But if there are no one want to share their thought, I think I can end up this session. So let's meet again tomorrow in the same schedule with another great speakers, and also yeah. Thank you. See you tomorrow. I close this session. Thank you.
Thank